In cafes and restaurants lining the narrow streets of Maldives, the capital of Maldives, the hot topic of discussion is how a spat with India got out of control, and what would be Delhi's reaction to it. Following the derogatory comments made by three Maldivian junior ministers against Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the tourism paradise is in danger of facing a boycott by Indian tourists, who are one of the largest contributors to the country's income. Indians were the largest group of tourists by nationality that visited the Maldives last year. Tourism accounts for almost one-third of the country's economy. The ministers, who have since been suspended, had called Mr. Modi a clown, a terrorist and a puppet of Israel on social media. The comments sparked outrage and boycott calls against Maldives on Indian social media. 1. India summons Maldives envoy over Modi insult row. The controversial posts were deleted following the uproar, and the Maldivian Foreign Ministry put out a statement saying the comments made by the ministers were personal and did not represent the views of the government. The Maldives consists of about 1,200 coral islands and atolls located in the middle of the Indian Ocean. The archipelago has a population of about 520,000 compared to India's 1.4 billion. As a small island nation, the country depends on its giant neighbor India for most of its food, infrastructure building, and technological advancement. Several residents in Maldives say they are worried the diplomatic spat could hamper relations between the two countries. We were disappointed with the boycott calls from India. But we were more disappointed with our government. There was a lack of good judgment on the part of our officials, Mariam Shafiq, a student at the Maldivian National University, told the BBC. Others point out that Maldives also has strong cultural ties with India, as people there grow up watching Bollywood films and dramas. We also depend on India for food, education and healthcare, Ms. Shafiq, a supporter of Maldivian Democratic Party, added. The Maldivian Democratic Party has had a India First policy and is believed to have close ties with Delhi. Image source, Ambar Sanethi Rajan. Image caption. Residents of Maldives worry the diplomatic row could affect relations between India and Maldives. The three Maldivian officials made the controversial comments in response to Mr. Modi's post on X, formerly Twitter, which included photos promoting tourism to the Indian island chain of Lakshadweep. Following the uproar, many Indians on social media said they were cancelling their holiday plans in the Maldives. Shortly after, the CEO of Indian ticket booking site EaseMyTrip announced that his company had suspended all flight bookings to the country. Abdullah Ghias, president of the Maldives Association of Travel Agents and Tour Operators, said there have not been a lot of cancellations at resorts and hotels. But we have seen some sort of slowdown in bookings, he added. The entire controversy has erupted at a time when the Maldivian President Muhammad Muizzu has embarked on a state visit to Beijing. Mr. Muizzu, who's known for his pro-China policy, has requested Beijing to send more tourists to Maldives. Chinese tourists used to dominate visitors to the Maldives before the COVID-19 pandemic. But tour operators say the number has dropped significantly, perhaps due to high ticket prices and fewer flights. China was our number one market pre-COVID, and it is my request that we intensify efforts for China to regain this position, Mr. Muizzu said during his visit. Image source, Getty Images. Image caption. Maldives has been warming up to China since President Muhammad Muizzu took charge of the country last year. But several Maldivians have criticized Mr. Muizzu for not taking stronger action against the three lawmakers for their controversial remarks. The ministers should have been sacked straight away. We are worried now about India's reaction as we depend on our neighbor for most of our food items, Ek Ahmad Isa, a lawyer affiliated with the opposition, told the BBC. The Confederation of All India Traders, one of the biggest trade bodies in the country, has asked its members to stop doing business with the Maldives until the authorities there issue an apology. Many, however, point out that calls for a boycott could also affect Indians who live in the Maldives. It is estimated that around 33,000 Indians work in the country's construction, hospitality and retail sectors. A significant number of Indians are also working in the Maldives tourism sector, many of them as managers and front office staff, Mr. Gias said. Already, there is tension between India and the island nation after Mr. Muizu asked a contingent of 77 Indian troops to leave the country after he came to power in November last year. 1. The Maldives' new leader wants Indian troops to leave. India says that security personnel are in the island nation to maintain 3 maritime rescue and surveillance aircraft it had donated to the country. The Indian Ocean archipelago has long been under India's sphere of influence, and analysts say Mr. Muizu wants to change that. His election campaign was centered on India out policy, with a promise to send Indian troops home and reduce Delhi's influence. Mr. Muizu's rhetoric really reinforced anti-India sentiment within his voter base. That possibly could have encouraged the junior ministers to make such controversial statements openly against India, Azim Sahil, a Maldivian political analyst, said. Though many in the Maldives say they reject the disrespectful comments on India and Mr. Modi, there's also an argument that any possible coercive diplomatic action by Delhi could backfire. It could push Mr. Muizu further towards China or any other power in the region, Mr. Zahir said. A former senior Indian diplomat, Nirupama Menon Rao, said Delhi could have stepped in to reassure Mail amid calls for economic boycott on social media. This is where we need Indian government spokesmen to step in and course correct, keeping larger, and crucial, security and strategic interests in mind. Maldives is not our Cuba.